So last week, the Supreme Court struck down Biden's student loan forgiveness program and also ruled in favor of a businesswoman, basically saying that you do not have to create anything that might interfere with your religious beliefs. We'll get into both cases and why this is important and why this is the correct decision by the Supreme Court. Then lastly, Americans are down on morality, family, and country. I'm Solo, this is the Solo Show. So, last week, Biden called the courts not normal. Then you have politicians like AOC wanting to impeach some of the Supreme Court justices. So last week, Joe Biden was asked what were his thoughts on the Supreme Court's decision, and he just responded with, "They're not normal." That was my Joe Biden impression. Then AOC and the rest of the left-wing media are gunning for some of the Supreme Court justices. They are essentially saying that if you guys disagree with us, that they're going to impeach you and then try to get you guys removed from the Supreme Court. And a bunch of things, AOC is saying that she's going to do a full investigation on Justice Alito, Thomas, and Roberts for corruption, which is completely insane, of course. They're basically saying that you have to agree with us. It's the rule of the mob. If you don't agree with the mob, basically they're going to come for you. This happened last year, actually, with the Roe v. Wade being overturned. There was people actually going to some of the justices' houses, protesting out in front of them. I believe one man was caught with a firearm by the Secret Service before they were able to get into one of the justice houses. I forget which one it was. It might have been Roberts. So according to NBC News, we'll get into first. Basically, the Supreme Court on Friday invalidated President Joe Biden's student loan debt relief plan, meaning the long-delayed proposal intending to implement a campaign trail promise will not go into effect. The justices divided 6-3 on ideological lines, ruled in one of the two cases that the program was unlawful exercise of the president's power because it has not been explicitly approved by Congress. And Biden, of course, said he is disappointed. He's going to do something about it. He's going to use a 2003 law called the HEROES Act, or Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Students, basically allowing the president to forgive some loans because of a national emergency. Chief Justice John Roberts said that the HEROES Act language was not specific enough, and it did not. It basically wasn't precedent for for Joe Biden's forgiveness loans. About 43 Americans would have been eligible to participate, totaling $400 billion in U.S. taxpayer money. That would have been about $20,000 per person. They're still trying to go over and overrule this and find a loophole to somehow forgive a bunch of these loans. But this, of course, is a overreach by Joe Biden. The reason why loan forgiveness is wrong is because not only are you paying for people who save money for their tuition and parents who save money for their kids' tuition. A good example of this would be there was a video from a couple of years back, a father confronting Elizabeth Warren saying, do I get my money back? She kind of did a weird chuckle, laughed, and said, of course not. He responded, I worked a double shift. You're laughing at me. We did the wrong thing and we got screwed. This is completely true. People work double shifts, they worked overtime, they put extra money into a fund for their kids so they're able to get a good college education and not worry about the tuition. And these people are basically getting screwed, saying, hey, I know you did the responsible thing, but look, we want to bail out these other people and give them forgiveness, and you're just kind of out of luck, which is completely unfair. Another point of this is like a blue collar worker. Let's just name him Nick. He didn't want to go to college. He didn't want to get the financial burden of a tuition of the loans to go to college, and so he just went into a blue collar trade where he's he didn't go to a 4-year university to get his degree, but he's working a hard labor job, and now Nick is going to have to pay off these people's debts, even though he chose the right decision to not go to college because he knew he couldn't afford it. So now it's his taxpayers, the American people, are going to have to pay for it. And on top of that, you have people that are going to college for, gender studies. You see some of these classes or these majors, and it's like, what are you going to even do with this in the real world? something like gender studies has no real application, and then they basically complain like, oh my god, I can't find a job with my degree. I went to college for 4 years, $73,000 or hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and basically I'm kind of screwed. Well, yeah, you are. You have a gender studies degree. What is that gonna help you in the real life world? So not only should Biden not forgive these loans, he cannot and shouldn't, because this would be unfair to the people who worked hard to save money and the people who skipped out on college because they knew it was too expensive. So that was a great ruling by the Supreme Court. The next decision from the Supreme Court that caused outrage in the media is the court ruling with a business owner that they don't have to create things that violate their religious beliefs. So according to the SCOTUS blog, give me a second. Let's see. The court handed a major victory to business owners who opposed same-sex marriage for religious reasons on Friday. A 6-justice majority agreed that Colorado cannot enforce a state anti-discrimination law against a Christian web designer who does not want to create wedding websites for the same-sex couples, because doing so would violate her First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And this is, of course, is true. Some of the Justice Sotomayor said, a sad day in American constitutional law and in the lives of the LGBTQ people. They basically were saying this is a step back for the LGBTQ plus community, which of course is not true. Basically, if you guys aren't really understanding what's happening, is that this is not saying if you're a business owner, you could simply refuse to serve, like your coffee shop, and you could just refuse to serve a gay couple, right? Just because they're gay. That's obviously not true. That's not what's happening. What this is saying is basically, as a web designer or a cake designer or something of that business sort, that you do not have to make a cake or website displaying gay sexuality because it would violate your religious beliefs, and that would be protected under the First Amendment, freedom of religion. So only businesses that are actually creating something, or like creating like a display, or have something to do with like creating speech, that's the only thing that this case refers to. Wouldn't that be like a coffee shop, like I said, or like just, I don't know, like a gym, I guess. You're not just refusing it just because they're gay, because that would be discrimination. But this is just simply saying that I do not have to create something that violates my religious beliefs, which is completely true and logical. I'm not really too sure why there was as big outrage as it had. Lastly, a new poll from Axios stated that Americans are down on morality, family, and country. So, recent polling reveals three startling trends shaping American families and their views on the nation's pride and morality. So, patriotism was on the decline. The share of people who say that they're extremely proud to be American has been falling for years, according to a Gallup post. I believe it dropped for 60% of Republicans who still claim extreme national pride. 20 years ago, it was 86%. And when patriotism peaked in the wake of 9/11 attacks, the last time a majority of Democrats say they were extremely proud to be president was in 2013, months into Obama's second term. And then the crisis of morality. You have a record high of 50% of Americans view the state of morality in the U.S. as poor. You have Republicans. 74% of Republicans say the state of moral values in the U.S. is poor. And I mean, it's just been, that's nearly double of what it was 2 decades ago. And then finally, changing of family values. 40-year-olds who have never been married are up 25%, or in a record high of 25% of 40-year-olds in the U.S. had never been married. That figure was 6% in the 80s. And you might be asking yourself, like, why does this matter? Well, this is simply shaping the state of our society. And that's why you see so much more divide now. You know, you look at your fellow Democrat, your liberal, and you just, typically, a lot of people are feeling disgust towards them. They hate them, vice versa. Everyone's either extreme, part of the far right or the far left. And it feels like it's a constant, ongoing civil battle. And, you know, this is something that is at its peak right now. You know, if you take a look back at 2001, I was yet to be born, but I've read, seen videos, heard people talk about it. After 9/11, people were so brought together and they realized the fellow American is me. The fellow American is human. they're American, they want to see good. And this is, of course, is true. You know, in 2001, we had a common enemy, basically, and that was the Middle East, basically attacking us, killing thousands of innocent people, hurting even more people's lives. And that's when we were able to be united and see each other like we're not so different anyways. And this is, of course, true. I'm not asking for like another 9/11, but I want that culture back. I want you to, you know, if you see a Democrat, a liberal, because you're most likely conservative watching this, don't look at them as the enemy. See them just as another human person who wants to see good but has different ways of going about it. And this is, of course, you know, what makes us the United States. We're able to have these disagreements on these things, but we still are one. We still should want to see each other do good. We still want to see each other, you know, live a happy, fulfillment life, but we just are going about it in different ways. And, you know, our society is going to continue to go down. We're going to be continuing to divide it if these numbers stay up. Of course, we should have pride in our nation. This is the greatest country. You know, tomorrow is going to be 4th of July. This is the greatest nation to ever be, you know, in the entire history. This is the greatest nation. We've got so many people out of poverty, gave so many people chances to go above and beyond. And yeah, and then of course, morality right now can be is very questionable. People's ethics in, you know, child transgenderism, abortion, stuff like that, of course, is not right. And what was the last one? Changing family values. I mean, I believe the average person to get married in the 60s and 70s were about 20 to 23. And now it's about closer to 30. And this is, you know, gonna promote other things like, you know, having, you know, sex with a bunch of people, doing drugs, having a lot more fun. And we became more selfish as a society. And we need to go back as, you know, settling down, having a family, getting married, having kids. That's, of course, when people not only love their country more, but also you've seen a lot more benefit in the country. And yeah, that's basically what I have for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Just go ahead and leave a like, comment, and share. Tomorrow's not going to be a podcast. I'm just going to be going out to the streets, asking people, are they proud of America? Are they proud to be American? And we're going to just see if Axios has a good scoop on basically what Americans are thinking. And we'll prove that tomorrow or disprove it. Thank you, guys.